this episode, we're titling it Reinvent Your Life because last week I had an awesome conversation with Natascha, and I was excited to kind of bring her on the podcast so that we can revisit our conversation a little bit, touch on some of the points that you and I touched on. And it's just going to be a conversation, really, because I really
Sounds
enjoyed
great.
our conversation last week. And I'm like, I think this would be a really helpful conversation for other people to listen in on. So I think it would be fun to revisit what we were talking about a little bit last week, but also you and I have also been talking a little bit before this, kind
Mm-hmm.
of adding in more thoughts that we've been thinking about over the past week since you and I have talked. So
Yep.
really what I wanted to talk about was one of the biggest things that I felt like has been my sh- my struggles and has been about the whole life coaching thing. And we'll start with that because that was something where I wasn't sure how to explain what I was feeling and what I wanted to do moving forward. And I think when I talked with you, it kind of brought some clarity, which also I wanted to emphasize the importance of having friends and having people that you can just talk with openly. And as you discuss what's going on in your mind and your heart with another person and get their perspective and feedback, it can actually help provide a lot of clarity in your own life. And that's kind of what was it was the case for me last week where we were talking and I was like, thank you, Natascha. Like you've really helped me kind of understand what I was going through on a deeper level. And really what it was once I became a life coach, I felt so much pressure to now have my life all together. And like I was telling you, because in my mind, I think if I'm going to hire a personal trainer, I'm going to look for the most fit, healthiest looking person that I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to hire. And so suddenly when I'm faced with my own struggles, um, and maybe it was just the whole midlife crisis turning 40, I don't know, but it was
Yep.
something that I was experiencing over the last 5 months or so that felt harder than usual. And I felt more uncertainty than usual, more not knowing answers to life. And I was like, how could I be so confused at age 40? And that's why I felt so inadequate as a life coach and kind of took a step back. Like, am I even equipped to be a life coach? And I just, I felt like I just wanted to quit and not do it because I couldn't be that fit
Right. Right.
person for people.
Yeah. And I totally, when you were telling me this, it was like, you know, I'm a little older than you. So, you're 40, I'm gonna be 53. So I remember that time and I remember feeling like we needed to have it all figured out and what kind of pressure that felt and what pressure that was. But there was also this thing of our 20s, when we were kind of silly idiots for the most part and just starting off and everything. And then our 30s, where it kind of really was about our children and our family and our relationship with, our husbands. And then in our 40s, I really felt like our 40s is somewhere of discovery, of redefinition, of like, you don't have to be that or this. And honestly, Crystal, coming out of this year we've had with, going through a pandemic, um, everything that's happened in the country, in the world, um, I think it's a time really to give grace, you know, um, to ourselves, but also to one another. As you and I chatted and laughed about, it just sort of felt like whoever you believe in, if it's God, the universe, and all. I mean, through this whole pandemic, it was like, hey, as a human race, you're not doing so good. You're not getting along with each other. You're not taking care of my planet. You're not, you're just like things are just going the wrong ways. And so go to your room. Go to
And
your room and sit there for a while and
think about what you've done.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a
I
total
love that analogy. That's so perfect because I
yeah.
feel like it's exactly what has happened to us, and many of it has caused
Mhm.
many of us to make a lot of changes. It's kind of forced us
Yeah,
to.
it has, and I think I really have to say, and no judgment on anyone, of course, we all, but I think the people who are sort of like, well, I'm gonna wait till this is over, or we'll see when it's done, and when things go back to normal, I feel like they're gonna have the hardest time
Yeah.
because expectations, I mean, breeds disappointment a lot, and
Mhm.
I think this is really what we're supposed to do is grow,
Yeah,
is
and not go back
change,
to the way it
not
was.
go back.
We're all
And
hoping, okay, once everything gets back to normal, but it's like, but
no,
what
no.
if there's a better normal and if we focus on
And one would
new things?
hope,
Yeah.
one would hope that we
Yeah.
would have a better normal. So I just really feel like, I mean, here's the time to redefine. Here's the time to jump off that cliff or, do that thing that was on your bucket list. Here's the time to change your life. I mean, so we're at the place where, we've got two kids. One oldest is out of college, one's in college, one's going to college. And, Rick and I are in this place where we really want to, I mean, it's been a hard year, you know. And what it has shown us is you really can work and live and be from anywhere you want. So what's stopping us? We've been blessed to dear friends of ours, my family friends, um, let us use their cottage. And we're in the Thimble Islands in Connecticut. And I don't know if you know it, but it's just beautiful. And the scenery and just the energy and even the people in the town. It is just gorgeous. And it's like, why not? you know, why not choose to be in beauty? I mean, these islands, we took this like boat tour. These islands are right off the coast, and people have gone over there, not now, not last year, not 10 years ago, in the 1800s, and built houses on those islands. Can you imagine? And Rick was saying, gosh, we get so overwhelmed and stressed out and, even lazy about, the littlest things. But here, these people, they saw something there and they did it. And why not? Like, why not us? And also with Crystal, with what you were saying, I mean, when you were going, even you're going through your um, midlife crisis, with coaching and who you thought, imagine if you could define who that is. Imagine if you could give yourself that grace. Because
Yes.
because I know you and I see you and I see this gorgeous, dynamic, beautiful woman, mother, wife, daughter, and I can say, oh my God, and when you and I jump on a call together, we always have a great chat. And I'm like, oh my God, Crystal said this or said that. But we're so hard on ourselves. And you're sitting over there going, oh, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't know if I know enough or I do enough. Where for someone else's reality, you're enough and you're more than enough, you know? And that's, I think, instead of being judged by nothing wrong with education and everything like that, but degrees and certifications and things like that, especially now, life experience and heartfelt thinking and mindfulness and kindness and understanding and listening to someone and reaching out and taking their hand and helping. I think those things, there
Yeah.
isn't.
I think that you said that really perfectly because I think that was kind of the biggest realization that I've been having around this. Like, why? did I suddenly feel so inadequate once I became a certified life coach. And I think what happened was really comparing myself to other life coaches and thinking I was supposed to be exactly like them. Like actually becoming a copycat of the way I was taught to life coach instead of just going into life coaching with my own unique approach. I didn't let myself do that because I'm like, oh no, this is the way to do it. You have to do it like A, B, and C instead of just going into it and being like taking the things that I learned from all different life coaches
Hmm.
and being like, oh, that part was really helpful. But I didn't allow myself space. I kind of put myself into this life coaching box, thinking,
But
okay,
who could
this is the
blame
way.
you, really? Because of look at our history. I mean, we're in an industry that promotes the best copycat wins and
Yeah, like how you
duplication
do it.
and
Yeah,
systems and stick to the protocol and
yeah,
that's what we're told. And yet, um, that's a great way for where it applies. But I think for especially now and the times and what you are trying to create, I think that is where you you build the magic yourself and you create it yourself. I mean, I feel like you're more of a free spirit, and you and I, listen, we're both married to Cancer men. There ain't no more free spirit than that. We've got big time dreamers
yeah,
and doers, and they are, emotional and passionate, and they're like, they can make anything happen, and they will. And that's, to navigate that, you have to be a little bit of you know a, a boater or
yeah.
a swimmer or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
I feel like, oh, go on, finish your thought.
I just think that we, it's really a coupling of the two. It's knowing when a system or a protocol is going to work, and knowing when you have to fall off the edge a little bit and let things just form themselves
Yeah,
and go with that. I think it's that combination that
yes,
will really create, the perfect kind of situation.
I
Um,
agree. And last
yeah.
week after we talked, I was really pondering our conversation a lot. And I was thinking, what if I even decided to not call myself a life coach anymore? What if I just decide to have a different name? And I decided that I don't want to be called a life coach. I want to be called a growth guide, like a personal growth guide, because I am very much passionate about personal development.
Yep.
But suddenly, when I stepped into the life coach title, it made me feel like, oh, now I'm supposed to have everything all together. I'm supposed to have all the answers. And I can't be as open and authentic. And you said that what stood out to you most is my authenticity. And I was like, thank you for pointing that out, because that is the one area I feel like I'm good at. I can be very open and vulnerable about what I'm going through in my life. But then I felt like once I became a life coach, I have to be a little more um, um, private about my own struggles. And so I kind of felt like I put this wall up. Okay, suddenly now I can't talk about that I'm struggling anymore, because then people will think, oh, why would I hire
Or
her?
yeah.
She's got a lot of issues.
Right. Right.
So that's where
I,
I feel like I fit better, is if I call myself a personal growth guide, because it feels like I can go back to the way I was doing it before, which is always sharing open and honestly about what I'm struggling with. And hopefully that's helping people, guiding people along their path in some small way.
Absolutely. And I mean, I really think that that's a great idea to call someone that. I mean, because yeah, I, you the the majority of people will do the whole thing just like you did with the personal trainer. The majority of people will say, well, if she's got trouble, how's she going to help me?
Yeah.
I actually feel like your authenticity and your ability to be real and to understand how something is, because either you're struggling with it or you have or and all, gives you strength. I mean, I can, I have um, therapists. I mean, I know them, and we've used them. And my sister's a therapist. I find that yes, although very good at what they do and all, it's a lot of theory and some practice, and but may or may not be. And that's fine. Like I said, not knocking anything, but I love that because if you think about it, even the name life coach is not that long. I mean, it's maybe a few years old. It's not I mean, there's always been a basketball coach or a baseball coach, but
Hmm.
life coach or mindset coach or the coaches that are getting us through life situations is, and they are not degreed. Like there may be a certification or there may be something. Um, so I think as we go through this uncertainty of where we are in the world, especially now, where we really were taken out of our control, I just feel like there's places for this and there's places for these things. And if you wanted to call yourself something, I just feel like there should be a freer time where
Yeah.
now people are just a little bit less judgy and this is the path to go on and this is the only way. And I just feel like that hasn't worked for anyone really.
Hmm.
And I mean, you know some people it has, obviously. I mean, people will go and do the thing and, join a job and do their 40, all that. That's not me. So I can't even get my head around that. So I just feel like it's time to really be listening, to collaborate, to like really talk about, hey, what are you doing? How can we find a synergy?
Yeah.
So like you guys, I mean, you've been our like trailblazers, right, with shred and what's happening with us. I mean, has completely transformed my husband's body, his health, his he was in good health before because he through the products and everything. And it was really funny how it worked out because it was almost divine, Crystal, because February came along and March was coming, and the word of this pandemic and all this stuff, and it started off with Rick and four other guys who were just not feeling good and wanted to lose some weight and decided to do an 11-day, and they had great results and they were feeling better, and people were locked down, they were gaining weight. So we had started doing one once a month since February. And then, of course, the story. I mean, Brad found you guys, and then it was just this. It was divine. It was so weird that we were already doing, the original protocol and all, and then how we came together and how this community has been built. And if you see it, it's so amazing because it is this great community. Whereas, and you and Sean and Jesse and Crystal, I mean, and Bob and
Heather.
Susan and Heather, and yeah, I mean, we'll miss names if
Yeah.
we keep, so let me just stop. Um, but it's just everybody comes with their own thing, and it's help. It's I have something to give. I can help. Here's my idea. And nobody's like, well, wait a minute, where'd you learn that? And what kind of credentials do you have? So,
Yeah.
do you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
So true. We
And
are all opening up to new ways of seeing things and just
yes,
accepting it as, all right, we're just going to try this out.
we're
It's
just going to
new.
try. And
Yeah.
yeah, and when we do we do groups of shredders doing shred, 2 or 3, sometimes in the month even. And we have a group like, you know, Rick is a very strict coach. He's like Jesse. He's like, suck it up, buttercup, and all that stuff. And I'm not as strict. And I'm, like, if you're going to do something wrong, I'll, come do it with me, or I, which is not good. Which is not good. But
Well,
then
no,
it's
I
just
like how
amazing.
you were mentioning our own unique ways of coaching people or just uplifting
Yeah,
people, guiding
exactly.
people. It's just very unique to each
It's unique,
individual.
and it doesn't have to have a thing, but like, we have a wonderful mindset coach, Donna, and she's there and and then they're just people who are having experiences with our protocol, with their own health, with their own body, with their own soul. And they are sharing that within the group, Rocio, Stephen,
Yes.
and
That
it's
is such
just,
an important aspect that really hits home for me because that's where I feel like I thrive when I'm just allowed to be the person who talks about my own
your
experience.
own
And
experience.
that
And
can help other people by just reading other
exactly.
people's experiences or hearing it through the podcast or whatever
And you are an expert if that's what's required. If
at my own
people want,
experiences.
you are. You had to go through it. Good, bad, or ugly. You had to go through it.
Mhm.
And I think in the end of the day, it's just, of course, if something grave goes wrong, I mean, if there's like a big health, like a disease or something, you there's an expert you go to, or there's things that have to happen. But I think where we're in this place of navigation in a new world, I mean, Rick and I, we really, our plan is really, I mean, we have this house with, 4 bedrooms, whatever, and stuff, and lots of beautiful art and things that my parents, and I just really would love to be free. I would love to be free. And I think we're tied to these things, tied to the house, tied to the car, what kind of this, what kind of that, what furniture and it's just stuff. And we
Yeah.
came out here and we're out here in natural beauty and, just, you know, in this space of just being able to be and travel and meet new people and have experiences and teach them about what we're doing, because I do believe we're all going to empower so many people in their
Mm.
health and their financial, but and their mindset, because it
Yeah.
has to start from there, right?
Yeah, and your
So
experience being out there is probably
mhm,
helping you realize I don't need all the things that are at my
no,
house,
yeah,
the cars and all the art and everything that's in my home. Like
mm-mm,
you're experiencing being in this cute little cottage in the islands. You're
yeah.
like, I don't even miss any of that stuff. So why am I so attached to it?
Yeah. And you're really not. It's just ends up, when you're around what you're doing and you're just around it, then it ends up being your reality. But we're kind of shakers. I mean, we are, because, we're shaking people and we're showing them ER shred, and we're showing people how to do something different and out of the box and not in the norm. And it may not feel totally good and it may be a little bit difficult, but you're going to come out like a happier person, a better body, whatever your thing is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But how do you do that if you're not open to that change? You know?
Yes, and I do want to kind of touch on that because I don't think I've really talked much about uh, how the beginning stages of ER shred here on the podcast. So,
Hmm.
which you brought, this is an important piece to it. Like we had to be open to a completely different way of looking at our diet because if we're going on what we've learned our whole life, which is based on the food pyramid, that lots of fruits and vegetables and lots of grains are the best way to eat.
Right.
And now we're thinking, wait, like, so we really had to open our minds to consider what if that's not true? And I feel like my experience leaving the Mormon church was the
Hmm.
beginning stage of me actually being able to open up my mind and consider everything that I've been taught to believe my entire life. Just consider for a moment, what if that wasn't true? And just explore it. And I think that can help you really start to step out of the box that you didn't even realize that you were in, first of all, and to
Yeah.
have so many different creative ideas if you just wipe away everything you've ever been taught and just look at it with fresh eyes and think, okay, what if we tried it this way? And that's kind of what Sean and I did. We heard other people
Hmm.
doing this. And I remember Sean first telling me about his friend doing just eating all this meat and like no fruits and vegetables. I'm like, what? Like that is
Yeah.
the most insane thing I have ever heard. And I was
Right.
laughing. I'm like, no way. Like,
Yeah.
and this guy who used to be vegan. So then I was just interested because I'm like, wait, if he went 6 years as a vegan, ended up in the hospital, and now he's doing eating all this meat, and I'm like, okay, well, that's really interesting to me. I want to know more. And I'm actually to my breaking point with my own health. I've been doing
Right.
veganism for almost a year. I'm ready to try something new. So I was like, screw it, I'm trying this, even though it's like so out there. But yeah, like you said, we really do have to get to a place where we're willing to open our minds to the possibility of what we've been believing or the way we've been doing things our whole life might
Right.
not be the right way, and maybe just try something different and completely opposite of what you've been doing.
Exactly. And I mean, I think that's where, a lot of amazing things have happened. And we get stuck in the thing of like, oh, it's this way, it's got to be this way, and how can it be? And I mean, when I saw the results of what you were talking about, the pyramid and everything, I mean, the first time I watched it all, honestly, Crystal, I felt like crying. I was like, oh my God, I've been lied to for
Hmm.
my whole life. And
Yeah.
it's not that. And still, when we talk to some people who kind of just take whatever's reported and accept it, it's like, oh no, I'm gonna have a heart attack and get high cholesterol. No. And so it's just been amazing, this journey, and it's really just happened with us, with this community, Shred. And Rick is a lawyer by background, so he's he's a skeptic and he's a researcher. So all the things that Jesse and Susan talk about and Sean talks about and you talk about and all, it's like he's he's reading about it, and and then it's all making sense. And then as we put it in practice, and people's bodies, like you see, are getting redefined and coming alive and all, it's like, yeah. But then and it's amazing and it's wonderful. But then I want to say, like, when you and I are having a conversation and you're like, I don't know if I want to do that, or if I can do it this way, or I'm saying I don't know if I can just get rid of everything, and Rick and I just live, get our kids settled and in schools, and really enjoy a, for the lack of better word, a free vagabond lifestyle, just traveling around and sharing what we have with new communities and new people. That would be just my dream life.
Mm,
And I'm
I
just really
know.
like, why not?
Yeah, why not? And the whole like simplifying has really kind of rooted within me. I've
Mhm.
always, talked about simplifying my whole life. Like, oh, we all know that we should simplify is better, but I never really put it into practice. And I don't think I ever even grasped what that really meant. I'm like, well,
Mm.
there's things that we got to do every day. So how can you simplify that? Because I would be like a busy mom doing all these things. And I'm like, oh, I just got to simplify. But I just really never knew how to do it. But now I'm really starting to consider ways of simplifying, and I'm doing it in all kinds of ways, which is ways that you're talking about, just like letting
Mhm.
go of all your stuff and just kind of being in nature more. And little ways that I've been trying to simplify is just removing all the choices in my life, which is really ties into the shred, because my choices, I don't have all these choices and as much variety
Mhm.
anymore, but it actually has freed me up to have a lot more time. So with my food, it's very simple. With my now my makeup and skincare routine, I've really honed in on the products that
Yeah,
I like, and I'm no longer going to get sucked into the newest, latest, greatest and be like, oh, I got to buy that. And then I have a whole drawer full of
right.
products that I've only used halfway and then on to the next shiny new object. So I've
Well,
really made a goal to, I've gotten rid of all of my extra makeup and skincare that I thought, well, maybe I'll go back to that. I'm like, no, I'm just going to choose
I know.
use products that I love, and I'm going to stick with that. And same with isogenics. Like isogenics offers so many different products, but for me personally, I just want to choose the 5 that I love.
Choose the what works for you.
Yeah,
We
and
just
just simple and
actually,
not have so many choices. And with
yeah,
my clothes too, I've gotten rid of a lot of my clothes, and I wear typically the same thing. I have like my favorite outfits, and I kind of just alternate through
yeah,
these comfortable, cute clothes that I like, and I'm not trying to, stay up with the latest trends anymore. I just want to have
right.
choices, and I know what clothes I like, I know what skincare I like, and the hair products and the nutritional products and the food, and it just really, and then my decor as well. I'm really trying to like have less clutter, and it's just really been so liberating to just have less things to look at, first of all, because I
Yeah,
think that overstimulates our minds,
that's it.
and you just feel lighter. And I really believe that it opens up more space for creativity, and that's what we all need right now. We're in this new uncharted territory, and we need as much creativity, as much imagination as we can muster
Yeah.
up collectively and collaborate, like you said,
Oh
be a part
gosh.
of a community, and we all bring
Hmm.
these different unique ideas and gifts together, and we're that much more powerful. And that's what we've seen with Shred and the community of over 20,000 people now that we've built.
It's
And it's
amazing.
just like everybody's bringing something powerful to the table.
Right.
Nobody's on a pedestal. We're not like, we're not having, I love that. I no longer want to have these like authority figures, these influencers, these people that were like, oh my gosh, they're so amazing. Like, why don't we just see us all as amazing and equal,
Yeah.
and not being like, oh my gosh, they're so much better than me? Because they
No.
might be better in some area, but they're not, overall, we're all the same. We're all
Yeah.
just as amazing as the next person.
It's so important that you said that, Crystal, because that is, I mean, you've heard it from us, you've heard it from Adam, you've heard it from different people in Bob, in ER Shred, in the community, Jesse. It really, it has felt like a life, Yeah, I mean, a few of us like didn't quite fit in so much where you are before because you don't want to feel greater or lesser or anything. You just want to be where we're all humble human beings.
Yeah.
How, for the most part, pretty powerless.
And
But
it removes that pressure that we do place on ourselves, like I
exactly,
was doing with myself as a life coach. I
yes.
just realized I don't have to put that kind of pressure on me.
No, because you sharing something within our community, within the people and who we are creating as as our world, nobody's gonna judge and ask you because they know who you are, they know your heart, and we're there together and nobody feels above or below or
Yeah.
um so I just think it's so important. It's so key to really be talking to each other, like really be using that collaboration piece because that thing is there may be something you're feeling like I've got this part of it great, and then there may be someone who comes in on the other side and the part that you're not feeling so good about, they fill it. And
Yeah.
isn't that really what it is all about? I mean, we fall in love with our best friend and there's parts of us that they fill, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So, and then, our
And we need to
children are
stop
there.
trying to be like those people. Like I always would look at the best qualities in Sean and be like, I should be better in that area. But now I'm like, no, why can't I just appreciate that he's really good at
That's
that,
his thing.
and not
Yeah.
pressure myself to be like him in that way?
No, it's very true. I think, Rick and I both tend to at times even compete a little bit, which,
Yeah.
it's not comfortable. And he and I are both cancers, so it's like, the competition and then the moodiness and all that stuff that happens, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think this is, you were talking about simplicity and you were talking about creating a simpler life. I think it's simplicity for sure. And I think it's redefining. I
Redefining.
think it's not wait for, there's no normal. There's no, and it's not gonna, what we knew has passed. And you know what? Fine. Like, it's, let it go. I mean, if we don't, let something go, how will we have hands to find something better,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah, I just feel like
I like
if
that. Say that again. If we don't let go,
if we don't let
no
something
free
go,
hands.
no free hands to grab onto something better.
Yeah.
My father used to always say, money comes, money goes. He said, you have to let it go for it to come back. Otherwise, there's no, if it, if things aren't moving, then how will anything grow or get bigger or better, whatever?
Yeah.
So, but I think the industry also, I think, just what everybody went through in the world for during the pandemic of like losing careers and jobs and their 9 to 5s and their jobs and all that stuff. um, it's really a time to open up and think about other ways of being sustained, being happy, being healthy, being, in a place of giving, being in a community growing aspect than just going to trade time for money or climb that ladder or whatever. Because the ladder falls. The ladder falls. And I just think now is really the time. And you talked about just within our lives, skincare, things like that. Finding out, who are those people there who have their businesses and have that, support and things like that. I think it's that rising tide lifts all boats. It's that. It's just everybody will go together. And then especially Crystal, because it was just for me, it was hard to hear you say, like, I don't know. There, because you are very authentic and you're so sweet and you don't mind crying with us and you don't mind showing your heart and you don't mind like, being, and I'm like that too, but you've got you got a little bit more up on me. But yeah, I get very emotional as well. So for for us to be able to be authentic and say and feel that way and all and not be judged and just be able to define what we can do and what we feel good about and what we feel like we can help other people and uplift them and make them in a better place. I mean, isn't that just the greatest gift?
Absolutely. That has been the greatest gift for me. It's just I'm the one that like I just put this unnecessary pressure on myself,
Yeah.
but I've been doing my podcast for I don't know 3 4 years now, and it has been the one thing that I always go back to. Like I've been, I did the whole Instagram influencing thing and I didn't
Hmm.
like that. That didn't was not authentic for me. But the podcast has always been the place for me to be the most authentic, where I can pour my heart out and it's just so raw and real. And then yeah, I just kind of had this like mind funk around becoming a life coach. Like now I can't be authentic because I have everything figured out, because I'm a
No.
life coach. I have to be
Right.
like,
Yeah.
don't worry, guys, just do what I'm doing and
Right.
you'll be happy, just like me,
Yeah, but and I mean, and I can relate to that because I'm not where I want to be with my ER trip. Rick is, So there's that pressure too. Like I'm one of the coaches, but I'm not where I want to be yet. And I'm not, and I'm not on point, each time or many times.
Hmm.
So I can either be phony and just say, or not say anything, or I can just say, I'm still working on it. I'm still working
Yeah.
on it. I'm still working on me, you know,
Yes, and we
and
should all be comfortable saying that.
yeah, because not everybody is gonna get like totally in shape and ripped like Sean and Rick
Yeah.
and Jesse. Some people are gonna struggle more and it's gonna take a little longer and
Yeah.
have some things that are gonna slow them up, and
Yeah,
that's
certain
me
things that they are not quite ready to give up.
to give up.
Like for me,
Absolutely.
even with the ER shred, I've been like, I would say to me, it feels like 95%, like I do it exact. Like, and it's
Hmm.
been 10 months, but I, just coming out of Mormonism and not being able to drink alcohol for my whole life, that has been the one thing where I'm like, but I just
Yeah,
started. Like, I just
yeah,
finally got to have some fun drinks. And so
yeah,
that's the one area where it's just, I feel like now just more recently, I'm like
yeah,
gradually going,
yeah.
we've made huge improvements. Like I don't drink as
Hmm.
much as I did 10 months ago, but I still was not ready to like give it up completely,
Yeah, that's exactly where I am, and it's exactly my issue as well. Rick gave up drinking a couple of years ago, not even year and a half,
Uh-huh.
and I just wasn't ready. I enjoy, and it's moderated and everything like that, but
Hmm.
that's definitely the big one for me
The
too.
weakness there. Yeah. And I
Yes,
think it's
for
okay to
sure.
admit that we have certain areas that we're like, oh, just not ready to do that
Yeah,
quite yet.
yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly. And I have done a shred or two shreds without and stopped,
yeah,
and that's been fine. Then, the cravings and all. I just got to get to that point and also that decision. But
decision. Yeah.
I think that's where, just with going back to the beginning on this, Crystal, I mean, we've all been through a very crazy year and showing and giving grace. I just really think it's so key and to just be open to listening to ideas and, like you said, simplifying and defining, those things. I think I'm going to be leaving. We have another week in this cottage, so we are so blessed and excited. But definitely, I'm not sure about the time frame, but it's filled my head and my heart and my soul, and there's no going back.
Yeah,
No
you've
going
been
back from
changed.
that.
Your experiences change you. And
Yes,
yeah, there is no going back to the way things were. And
yeah,
that's a good thing
and
because,
and we, I want to do that in other areas too. I mean, this is just in relationships and all. I mean, Rick and I still work on each other as a couple. I mean, so talking about you with how authentic your podcast is, when we first got to know you guys, I found your podcast and binge watched it, watched the whole thing on the Mormon Church and everything. And I was like, wow, wow. The first one I ever heard was one you just done, like pretty soon after we met, when you and Sean were on it and you were talking about arguing and, oh my God, it's been 2 weeks and we haven't had an argument. We're so good. It was like you guys were describing us. It was so funny. Rick and I listened to it. We were laughing. I mean, even down to the part about the notebook and the movie. And like, he is always, that's us. Like, we will scream and yell at each other and then we love each other all of a sudden. And
yeah.
so, yeah, there's just, I mean, it's felt really divinely inspired this whole time. And even though we keep saying it's a crazy time, it's brought some silver linings, and our ER Shred and our ER Shred family, all of everybody, and you guys are definitely a silver lining, if not a platinum lining. So I just think there's so much to be grateful for, and there's so much that we can do. And I think we should just keep talking and keep sharing and
Yeah.
keep being open and listening and helping each other in this new normal. It's
Yeah.
not going to be the same. And honestly, nobody can tell us um, for certain what is what. So why
That's
not?
so true. I think we're all seeking for that one person who knows and has all the
Yeah, no,
answers.
but
And that's
why
been
not
my
all of
biggest struggle. I'm
us?
like, there's got to be somebody who has all the answers, but
Yeah,
I haven't found one. I haven't found one.
no, I mean, but why not us step up to it? Why not
Yeah.
us be who, if it was God or the universe sending us to our rooms, coming out as better people and being more grown and
Yeah, listening
amazing?
to ourselves more. I feel
Yeah,
like that's the one area that Sean has really perfected. He doesn't, he's so good at listening to himself and his own intuition. And it's something
yeah,
that I really struggle with. And he doesn't read a lot of books, but it's mind blowing to me the things that he says. And I'm like, I read that in a book. How do you know that? He's like,
yeah.
because I just
That's a
know, like, it's common
that's a
sense. If you
gift.
just listen to yourself long enough, you
Yeah,
too can find these same answers that all these authors are talking about.
yeah.
And so it's like, that's why it feels so good when I read these things, because I'm like, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
that's how I feel. Or they give me like answers that it feels good to me because I know that to be true in my heart, but I won't allow
Right.
myself to believe it's true until I hear it through an author or book or something.
That is such a unique and amazing gift Sean has for
It
sure. And the
really
other
is. I'm
one,
just like, you don't read any of this same, he doesn't
yeah,
read,
and he says it. He said, I
he
don't
just
read
says
books, but
things.
I
Yeah. And
just
I'm just
he
like, how do you know this stuff?
and he kind of I think he walks pretty strongly into his own, like he's not afraid. Like, okay, if it's a mistake and all. And the other thing he does really well, which is so much a part of this, is he loves on people really hard. Like
Oh
he
yeah, he's
really
really good
gives
at that, at
makes
noticing all the
people,
good in others. Yeah.
yeah, he does. And that's, I mean, what greater gift can you give? So,
I
yeah.
agree because I feel like that is another thing when we talk about doing things differently. I think that's another thing that we're all craving and kind of
Hmm.
striving for as far as things being different. No longer do we want to praise the guru, the prophet, the
Right.
celebrity.
Yeah.
We want to be noticed. We want to be heard. And when we see other people doing that for us, it inspires us to do that for others. And it's like we are stepping out of that ego part where we want to be seen, we want the limelight, we want all the credit. And Sean is such a great example in leading out in that way, where he genuinely is not like, I want all the credit, I want everybody to give me praise.
No,
He's just like, let me shine the light on all these other people
everything
because they're
exactly.
amazing, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the beauty of it. That's that whole we'll rise by lifting others mentality that he has.
Hmm.
And it's what's grown this community and all. But I just really think as we, you know, get better and better, like, Bob's taken over like a lot of like helping people with financial and things like, and then Jesse and, Susan, there's places we can all come in with our gifts. And you know what, Crystal? It can be called whatever you want it to be called. Because, really,
Yeah.
but it's there. And I think what I think it'll be amazing. I think we cannot hide our authentic lives, or the way we can help other people is the best way we can. And we got to
Hmm.
stop walking in fear of it. Like, that's kind of just like, even like people who are like, well, let me lose all the weight before I say anything to anyone. And I never understand that. Or let me get healthy before there's, I mean, just if you have something, just, but people come from that scarcity mentality that, I'm trying to get something over or something. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But
That's so true. And I'm glad that you don't operate that way because, like you said,
mhm,
you're like, I'm not where I want to be, but that doesn't keep you from talking
no,
about
I,
it.
I still got to do it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and just because, and that's on me. Like, I've got a girlfriend who's like, well, nobody, I'm not doing it right. So, but I'm like, you can't speak for them. I'm not doing it right, but they might do it right.
Yeah.
So just don't hold gifts back. because
Mhm.
people need it right now. People need it in their health. People need it in their financial. I mean, at this point, it's just, I mean, you've got to have some kind of community driven way to
So true.
have
I think the
something.
community aspect, I really
Yeah.
do. Somebody said that on one of our recent calls, that the biggest game changer for them was the community. And I was actually surprised because I was like, what is, she's like, I've never been able to get these kinds of results and I've done all these different programs. And I'm like, well, what was it specifically that was like the game changer for you? And it was actually caught me off guard. She's like, it was the community. And I'm like, really? Oh my gosh, that's such a beautiful answer, because
Mhm.
it is so true to kind of highlight that as the number one most effective way to grow is having a strong, powerful community and
Yeah.
people that you can collaborate with, that you can feel a part of something. I
Right.
feel like that is doesn't get enough attention as it should. The communities and connections that we have with people are
Hmm.
a number one. Doesn't matter what
Totally.
kind of diet protocol. I mean, yeah, there's things, but
Yeah.
number one is community and connection with people.
It is. And I think there's a lot of ongoing conversation, collaboration, you know, building of that we can do through
Yeah.
within the shred community. We
Mhm.
should, I mean, we should have continuous growth on that as well. Because there's
Yeah.
so many, because that's all part of those logs in Sean's fire.
Yeah, yeah. We're all putting our logs on the
Yeah,
fire,
yeah.
creating a big
It,
bonfire. It's so
I
exciting.
know. It is
Oh,
really exciting, and
yeah,
it's so cool. You know how it is to be able to do something like this with your best friend and your love of your life.
yeah,
And yeah, and we do things differently, and I'm super amazed and so proud of him. And you know, I mean, both of them are cancers and they have their thing, but Sean doesn't read. Rick does a lot of research.
mhm,
But those kind of things are great too, because coming together with all those different ways of doing things can only just do better things. And
yeah,
just the way they've talked about, they're redefining who they are from the inside out, and just even in the way they share and the way they love and the way they give, and
yeah,
so it's exciting. It's
yeah.
exciting to
And
be in
it
that.
is
It's exciting
beautiful
to
to
be, yeah,
watch all these lives being transformed, and most importantly, me being able to witness Sean's
yes,
transformation from the inside out. It's just
yeah.
like,
Rick's
wow,
too.
this is a lot of fun to see
Yeah,
these things unfolding and people growing and changing, and just seeing a lot of improvements in their own lives. Mental health is just something that I'm hugely
huge. Another one.
passionate about, and this is really affecting people's mental health. I just think that diet plays a
Huge
big role on our mental well-being.
on everything, Crystal. I
Yeah.
mean, it's well being absorbed, and Rick always said it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb, and yeah. So, I mean, I just think it's super exciting. I'm so happy you and I had that talk last week, because we were both kind of feeling some kind of funny,
Yeah.
and we kind of brought it together, and we were able to, and hopefully this, you know, like touches someone, you know, and
Yeah.
then we just have to live our best life, and we really can't be defined. And
Yes.
yeah,
Stay connected with people, because yeah, that's what has been really helpful for me, is to,
yeah,
as we're in isolation, feeling so isolated this past year, it's just, there are creative ways of connecting with people like you and I have. We've never met in person,
I know,
but
it's
it feels like
crazy.
we have, because we've
I
had these
know.
Zoom conversations, and
Yes,
it does feel like we're face to face. And I
yeah,
think that, yeah, the more we can connect with people and be creative in ways that we can connect in safe ways,
absolutely.
then we're just
Well,
gonna,
as soon as I start our vagabond life,
yeah, come out to Utah.
you'll be seeing us.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be
Oh
awesome.
my
Well,
gosh.
this has been so fun, Natasha. Thank
Yes,
you for joining me and just having
thank you.
this constructive conversation, because I think it's fun.
Needed.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so
absolutely.
needed, Crystal. Thank you so much for having me. And
Yes.
this is just super fun. I can't wait to see it again. And I hope I hope that we can continue the conversation because I certainly know we have some amazing people in the community.